In terms of what I've been playing, I finally finished Trails into Reverie. Now, the thing that blew my mind is because I stopped right before the finale, and so I needed to finish the finale. And I do this, I feel like, with every Trails game. I think I did this with Trails of Cold Steel 3. I did this with Trails in the Sky. I did this with Trails to Azure, and now Trails into Reverie, where I was literally at the finale. I had to go into the final boss location and then just do the rest of the game. And the reason I wasn't doing it is because the way I play the Trails games is that I like talking to every single NPC and kind of getting a feel of the world, and funnily enough, doing that actually made the ending better for me. And so that's what I want to do in this game. And so, without going too deep into spoilers yet, I will go into spoilers later, but right before you can actually go to fight the final boss, pretty much the entire world opens up and they say you can explore, talk to anyone you want, and do whatever you want. And so what I want to do was talk to every single person in every single city, or every single town at least, and kind of get a vibe of the world, and that's exactly what I did. And I actually had a checklist that I made of every single location you can teleport to, and as I was going through, I would just check off locations. And so for the past week, I was literally doing like, okay, today I'm going to do 3 locations. I went, talked to people, okay, next day 4 more locations, blah blah blah. And there's about like maybe 25 locations that I had to go to. And something that I didn't expect is they also had this thing where they spread around very strong bosses around the world too, where if you kill them you get a certain ore, and then if you use that ore you can make extra strong weapons for your characters. And so I was like, fuck it, why not just fight them too? And so I think they're like maybe like 5 bosses or something like that, so I beat all those bosses too, and I got the material for that. But yeah, I was just doing that for an entire week just to get ready to actually do the finale. And I think 4 or 5 days in, I finally got to the point where I can do the finale, and that was yesterday. And yesterday I finally played through the end of the game, and it took so much longer than I thought. I think I started playing like around 3 p.m. and I finished around 10-11 p.m. and I did like take a break in between to eat and stuff, but like the finale was pretty long. I went to the final location, a lot of plot stuff happened, and the game finally concluded, and I think it was just done very well, honestly. Like, I very much enjoyed it. Like, a lot of the plot stuff that happened, some characters that I want to return did return in some ways. The final cutscenes was cool. It's cool to see how they're setting up the future of the series. A lot of plot reveals, plot drops happened. I just thought the finale was, you know, how the finales of Trails games usually are, where they're like revealing a lot of stuff. And I think I did end up enjoying Trails into Reverie a lot. What's weird is, and I don't know how this is, but I mentioned in a previous episode that the one thing I was disappointed with Trails into Reverie is that it wasn't that long, and I said it was like 30 hours, maybe 35 hours, whereas the other Trails games I hit like 80 to 100 hours. And what's weird is I was doing the finale talking around and talking to NPCs, and I looked at my save file and it was around the 70-hour mark. It was like 65 hours. I don't know if I left the game open and I saved, or if it was actually that long. So if it actually was that long, cool, that means the game is as long as I'd want it. If not, and I don't know why it's at 30 hours. I'm pretty sure I just left the game on, because I swear to God, I specifically remember looking at the 30-hour mark and being at the finale and being kind of disappointed. So I'm not sure what that's about, but yeah, it is potentially longer than expected. But from here, I think I will start delving into spoilers. So if you have played Trails into Reverie and you want to hear my thoughts, feel free to stay. If you have not played Trails into Reverie, or if you just don't want to hear about this at all, just feel free to skip to the next segment. But yes, we will go into more details. I love the finale. I think the reveals were dope. I love I feel like this was already revealed, but I guess it wasn't, where Reen was Ishmelgareen. I don't know why, but I felt like I kind of knew that already. I feel like it was at least kind of alluded to the first time you met him. But actually, no. I think what it was alluded to that he was the Reen that split off from another timeline, but it wasn't completely confirmed that he was Ishmelgareen. And what's really funny to me is right before he revealed that he was Ishmelgareen, he said his name, and whenever he said his name, it was kind of distorted, but his name was also written in the subtitles, but it was all distorted. While I was looking at the distorted text, I was like, hold up, I feel like I can read that. So I took my phone, I took a close-up picture of it, and I realized that distorted text isn't really distorted. Literally all they did was they used like a weird looking font, and they wrote Reen Schwarzer, and on top of the Reen Schwarzer, they wrote Ishmelga, and because it's 2 words on top of each other, it looks distorted, but if you look really closely, you were able to see what it was. So it's very funny that I was able to figure that out before the reveal. And I'm curious to see, if you go back to the first time he was revealed and he said his name, was it that clear? Like, would you be able to see that it was Ishmelga all the way early on in the game? I'm not sure. Or was his name like distorted even more at the time? But well, whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But like the reveal of it being Reen confirmed from the other timeline, and it being Ishmelgareen, as in Ishmelga, if you don't know, is like the main bad guy of the entire series, pretty much the darkness over the continent, and it just went inside of Reen in a split off timeline. And I thought that was a very cool reveal. And specifically, why I think this was done so well is because of the way they handled it. Whereas this plot point of a bad guy being a different version of the protagonist is not new. You see this in games, you see this in anime, shows, whatever. But the thing that they always do is that the bad guy's always like, oh, I'm you from another timeline. I'm what you could have been. And that's usually it. And while that is an enticing plot point, you usually don't feel that connected because it's like, sure, you can say that about anything. Like, yeah, like I can split off into another timeline at any point to become evil, sure, but like it's just so hypothetical that it doesn't really matter. The reason why this one hits so much harder, and it was probably the first time I actually cared about this other Reen, is because you actually got to play as this Reen in a past game. Like, you know who this Reen is. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, in Trails of Cold Steel 4, the way it ended is you're fighting the final boss, and to beat the final boss you actually sacrifice yourself by taking in the final bad guy, which is a Schmelga, into your body, and you pretty much end up dying, kind of, and then everyone is very depressed and the game ends. And then when the game ends, it says like, oh, that was a bad ending. If you want the true ending, you got to do a bunch of other stuff, and then you go back, you do something, and you get the true ending where Reen doesn't actually have to die and he is able to defeat the bad guy without sacrificing himself. And so the Reen that actually is in the true ending is a Reen that you get to play as in the rest of the series. And the Reen that was the one who actually sacrificed himself and took the bad guy within himself and actually died is the bad guy of this game. He's the Ishmael Reen. So I thought that was very fucking cool because automatically I'm already connected to him because I'm like, yeah, you're the original Reen that I played as. You were the Reen that was technically the one that I played through the entire series, if you want to think about it like that. And the Reen that we've been playing as now is the one that was the true ending. And so it's very cool that they actually took this bad ending, true ending mechanic and made it into a huge plot point, so big that he's pretty much the final villain of Reverie. So I thought that was very well done. I thought the way they handled the characters was amazing. I like how they handled Rufus, what happened to him trying to kill himself and him having to fake his death, and now he's technically free and he gets to hang out with Lapis, Nadia, and Swen. I thought that was pretty cool, and I just thought the ending was dope. I don't want to go into too much detail because I would just be talking about it for a long time, but what I really enjoyed about this game, and I talked about this last segment of the podcast if you're watching the full episode, and I just really like that after I finished the game, they said there's a lot of additional post-story content, and this is done through the Reverie. And what's funny is, throughout the entire game, as I was playing, I had one question on my mind, and if you don't know, let me see if I can grab it right now. So Trails into Reverie actually has a cover where the front cover is this, and I'll explain it for the audio viewers, and I'm showing it right now. Hopefully it's in focus, and it's pretty much this gray-haired woman, and this is the cover of the game. Now, when you boot up the game on the PlayStation, she is also the cover art there. So every time you turn on the game, you see this big art of this woman, and I'm like, okay, she's clearly someone important. And as I'm playing the game, I'm like, when are they going to introduce her? Like, who is this woman that's on the... She literally is the cover of the game. It's not like she's a small part of the cover. She is the cover of the game. And so there were certain plot points. I'm like, oh, maybe this is going to be the woman, or maybe this is going to be the woman, and that never came up. I was in the finale then, and I'm like, is this a finale? They still haven't introduced this fucking woman who's on the cover of the game. And then the game ended, and they still didn't show the woman, and I was like, what the fuck is going on? And then they said that there's gonna be additional post-story content in the Reverie. Then I'm like, okay, the woman has to be here, right? And thankfully I played maybe 2-3 hours of the post-story content. I'm nowhere near done it, I think, and I finally learned who the woman is. And it's insane to me that, again, very heavy spoilers, I'm going into heavy spoilers, but they reveal that this woman is the leader of the Ouroboros group, which is this villain group who's been throughout all the games. And the reason that's such a fucking big deal is because, at least at the start of the Tearal series, Ouroboros wasn't even like a known thing. It was always talked about as like, there's this group that maybe exists, it's kind of rumored, and then slowly you get to realize it does exist, and slowly you get to know more of it, you get to know more of the people, and like they're kind of chill in some ways they're evil. But at the top of the group, there's always someone called the Grandmaster, who no one knows who that is. It's the one leading it, the one who's giving the orders, but no one knows who the Grandmaster is. But I believe in one of the games, I think it was Trails in the Sky 3rd, there actually is dialogue for the Grandmaster. There's like this cutscene where they're talking, and it's really fucking cool. But it's not voiced or anything, it's just some dialogue, and that's all you get to hear from the Grandmaster, and I don't know if there's any more. And in this game, in the fucking post game, they show the woman, and it's revealed that, yeah, she's the Grandmaster. She's the one who's been leading it all along. So, first of all, that's a fucking huge reveal. Second of all, why the hell would they lead that to the post game? Third of all, why the fuck is she the cover of the game? But that doesn't make sense to me still. So, I'm still gonna be playing the post story. I want to see how is she so important that she is the actual cover of the game, because it'd be one thing if like the cover was like a bunch of characters and they showed her in the corner, as in like she's kind of a hint of what's going to be in the game. But seeing that that she's literally the cover of the damn game, I'm just curious as to why, because Ouroboros wasn't like Ouroboros is part of this game, but like not like important enough where she has to be on the cover. There's there's probably a bunch of other characters that would make more sense to be on the cover than her. Honestly, Schmelgarine probably would have been made more sense on the cover. But the fact that she's on the cover, either for me is the creators just want to be fucking dope and just put a character that they knew was gonna be a huge reveal for Tearal's fans, and that's the coolest part. We're seeing the head of Ouroboros, but if you don't play the game, if you don't play the post game, you literally won't know that this is the fucking leader of the group. So either they did that just to be kind of cute and like, you know, just like show a big reveal right on the front and not tell anyone until the post game, or maybe she is gonna have a big role in this post game. I don't know if she will, because the way the post game works is you're in this reverie realm, and the way you get story is that you're supposed to do this kind of dungeon crawling game, and as you do that you get daydreams, and you unlock daydreams are pretty much flashbacks, and one of the flashbacks was pretty much about her talking about her plan about going into Calvert and continuing her plans there, which I'm assuming is what Trails Through Daybreak is going to cover. And that was clearly meant to hint at the next game, because it literally ended with to be continued and blah blah blah. And I don't know if we're gonna be able to see more of her in the post game, and if you don't, then I guess yeah, they just want to make the cover very tongue-in-cheek and just like very funny that they have a big reveal on it. But yeah, it's just very weird. We're like, yeah, she is the cover of the damn game. She is a huge reveal, but she is in the game for all of 2-3 minutes. But yeah, if she is more in the post game, I'll talk about her next week. But that is kind of how I want to end the discussion of what I've been playing this week.